Wages. One of the problems right now, obviously, is that a lot of people aren't going back to work. There's tons of open roles. Not a lot of people want to go fill the roles. So what ends up happening is that companies in a tight labor market have to begin to raise what they're willing to pay people, and they have to raise the perks that they give those people as an incentive to get them to come and work. It's pretty simple. When you start to understand how the world works around incentives, everything becomes obvious. So I want people to come and work here. I've opened jobs. People don't want to come work here. So what do? Maybe I'll pay a little bit more money. Maybe I'll offer some more perks. The problem is that as they're doing that, the people who already work at the companies are saying, wait a minute, hey, whoa. You pay me $15 an hour and you're going to offer that person $17 an hour. Why don't I get paid $17 an hour? How come you won't increase my compensation? Why don't I get those perks? So there's a balance. If you jack up what you're willing to pay or you jack up the perks for the new roles, your existing employees then become upset. And so this has created a very unique position for a lot of companies. We're seeing all sorts of complexity. Companies are raising prices because what they're doing is as they have to increase what they're paying to their existing employees or to new employees, they pass that cost on to the end consumer, so they raise their prices. We have from the Ally Finance Chief Human Resources Officer, everyone talks about their pay now. The new generation is very open about it. So making sure you have fairness and are able to justify and explain that is extremely important. Kathy Patterson. I grew up, and when I first started working, it was like taboo. You weren't allowed to talk about what you got paid. That was a no-no. And if they heard that you were talking about what you got paid, you was in trouble. But what now Ally is saying is that young people, this is exactly what they're doing. Does that cause problems for the employer? Probably.
I believe so.
Yeah, I mean, it puts them in an awkward situation, but you also got to remember, like, if you're offering and you're publicly saying, hey, look, like Chipotle, we're going to give all of our employees $15 minimum wages when they come in. We're going to pass along to customers. Not necessarily Chipotle is the best example, but companies that raise the wages for kind of entry-level employees and all these things, the people that already work there consistently and have these jobs at even higher positions are going to want raises also, right? If you're saying, hey, look, we're raising this to combat inflation, hire people, the unemployment market is really bad right now. We need to pay these people more money. The people that hold the higher positions are going to want raises too, right? And those are things that cannot be taken back. So once you give that raise and once you say, hey, look, we're paying $15 an hour for entry level, you can't go down. So I think what we're seeing is a lot of these companies, the companies that need to hire are doing it because they don't really have a choice. But the companies that can wait 6, 12, 18 months potentially and hold off and say, hey, look, maybe this calms down. Maybe it cools off in the next year and a half, and we can hire back at the consistent rates that we were used to without offering all these perks and all these incentives. That's what we're going to do because we know once we do it, we can't come back from it.
If employees are all talking about their pay, does that hold the company in a position where they have to be accountable and they have to create a fair system?
Well, what do you mean?
Like the more transparency, if I know what you're getting paid and you're getting paid and you know what I'm getting paid, then the company is more incentivized to make sure that they're paying us all adequately.
Yeah, for sure. If everyone is public about it and knows, yeah, I think it incentivizes them to make sure that they're doing it in the correct way.
I was talking to somebody on the phone today, and he said that he once had a situation where he hired somebody. They came in, they were like in an apprentice role. This was a manufacturing business. And this is a great story. He said that the apprentice said, hey, when can I get paid as much as that guy? And that guy was the head of the manufacturing floor, right? And the guy who was an apprentice, an impressive guy. He had a military background, all this stuff. And so they were saying that, it's not like he was like any dummy. And so the response from the business owner was the following. When do you think that you can do what he can do?
Yeah.
And the guy was like, I don't know, like maybe 10 years. I don't know, maybe never. And he goes, well, that's when you'll get paid like him. Is when you can do his job, then you'll get paid like his job, right? That's how it works. And so I do think that there's an element of you constantly, if people know, hey, John's getting paid, X dollars and I'm getting paid X minus 20%. Oh, I'm better than John. I should get paid what John gets paid, right? So there is an element of that, but it also forces the companies to be much more kind of fair in what they do.
Yeah, and I think it's tough because if you just say, hey, look, this job, you're always going to have some kind of conflict, right, of people that think they're not being treated fairly. And that's always one of the difficult things to kind of expel out of an organization, I think, because if you say, hey, look, we're going to pay all of kind of this entry-level role this, we're going to pay kind of the next step up this, and the step up above that this, there's always going to be people that are not only thinking that they should be on that level, but people within those levels that think that they do better quality work than someone else. So it's tough. I think it's helpful to be transparent in some cases, but I also think it makes it more challenging.
People who switched jobs from June 2020 to June 2021 saw on average basically a 6% raise. People who stayed in the same job saw a 3% increase.
There's a rule of thumb. Dad told me this one time. Our dad, he said, yeah, you know what they say? I said, I don't know what they say. And he said, if you work somewhere for 2 years, you're getting underpaid after that. That's probably a pretty good rule, right? Because once you get in, it's not like they're going to double your salary, right? They're basically going to give you kind of increases, maybe get a promotion, a little bit extra cash, but you definitely fall behind where if you constantly were going to the free market and getting repriced, then you probably would accelerate your income faster that way.
Well, you see a lot of kids like directly out of school, right? Their first entry level job may not even be necessarily the company they want to work for, but the industry they want to be in is a lot more important, and the skills that they learn are very important. So they know that, hey, I might leave in a year, might leave in 2 years or whatever, and just kind of use this name recognition as a way to like up myself and up my salary and up my job. One thing that you were talking about was in Seattle at T-Mobile Park, there's a lady there that made $16.70 an hour. And she, during the pandemic, they hired a bunch of new people and the city increased the minimum wage to $16.69. So she was making a penny more than people that she was training, even though she's worked there for years. Right? And
that's crazy.
It has since been renegotiated, but at one point in time, she's making a penny more than people
per hour
than people she's training. She's the one giving them instructions.
Yeah, but that's where it comes down to, right? If you're going to offer higher wages you're going to raise wages to incentivize people to come and work for you, you're going to have to do the same thing on higher level jobs. And you just mentioned it, it's not happening on an equal basis, right? The new employees are getting a 6% raise year over year, and existing employees that already work in these organizations are getting a 3% raise year over year. So we can already see that they're getting mispriced essentially, right? But it's because these organizations know if we give them these raises, you can't come back from them. So even if the job market cools off in 6, 12, 18 months, whatever it is, we're going to have to pay these wages. So maybe we can wait it out, maybe we can't. But if we give them this raise, we're going to have to consistently give that to them every single quarter, every single week, every single month.
All right, these two charts. First, the longest period in history without an increase in the federal minimum wage as we are living in right now. Today, the federal minimum wage is worth 17% less than 10 years ago and 31% less than in 1968. What this means is that in July of 2009, there was a minimum wage of $7.25. That $7.25 in today's terms would be the equivalent of $8.70. So what this chart is showing is that if you have been getting paid minimum wage since July of 2009, you are getting paid less today, more than $1 less in purchasing power terms today than you were then. Now, that's only up till 2019. That doesn't include the trillions of dollars that were printed recently. So the odds are that you have lost $2 or more in purchasing power per hour since 2009, which means that even though they told you we're paying you $7.25 and we pay you that every single hour for years and years and years and years, you're actually getting paid less in purchasing power. It feels like everything around you is becoming more and more expensive. This is why it is essential in today's economy that you have investments. I don't care what you invest in. Do your own research, make sure you're educated, but you cannot sit there, get paid an hourly wage that stays the same, whether it's $7.25, $10, $15, or $20. It does not matter. You have to continue every year to get an increase in your hourly rate. And then the money that you save after you pay your expenses every month has to, some portion of it, go into investments, because that is the only way that you are going to continue to preserve and increase your purchasing power over time. If you do not do that, every single thing in your world is going to get more expensive, and you're going to still end up in a worse and worse position. The feeling that you can't get ahead, that you're on that rat wheel, you're just running on the little hamster wheel, rat wheel, whatever they call it.
The rat wheel, yeah.
Hamster wheel, rat wheel, whatever. You're just running on it and you can't get off. It's because your pay isn't going up and you're also not invested. That to me is the craziest chart that we might have ever pulled up on this show, is that literally in today's terms, the minimum wage used to be $8.70, but now with the devaluation of the currency, it's $7.25.
Well, John just read the stat. It was in experienced workers over the last year, their pay is only up 3%, right? So inflation, the government's even saying it's higher than that. And we know that they undershoot it usually. So think if it's 2 or 3 times that, that's really bad.
back to what you were saying, Anthony.
Did you just call me Anthony?
Yeah, no. In 1973, the minimum wage was around $4. Equivalent, the purchasing power would have to be $25, over 3 times the minimum wage today.
They would have had to increase it 3 times to keep the same exact purchasing power since then.
Yeah.
That's nuts. Can you imagine if people right now were talking about $25 minimum wage? Companies would be like, dude, I'll
People
fire.
are struggling to.
Everyone's
get
bragging
15
about
back.
15. Yeah.
Companies would literally fire every employee. They would have to. I mean, think about that. If they actually had to pay a wage that was equivalent to what it used to be, this absolutely would cause mass layoffs because companies just couldn't afford it. Like imagine every
They would have to close
restaurant,
their doors if
every
they did.
restaurant having to say, okay, now every single person that works should have to pay them $25 an hour or more. It's just they wouldn't be able to operate their businesses, right? So it's a very, very bad situation. But you as an individual, you're in control. You can make changes. You can get out of this situation. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching that clip of the Best Business Show. Make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. Turn on notifications so you know when we go live every weekday. And then head to SoFi.com/pomp so that you can get an account and we can get after it.